Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the REC podcast, brought to you by the REC Toycast. I am your host, Roman Chavez, and with me, as always,
Erik Icarus.
Eric!
What's up, man?
You can find us on the gram at REC Podcast. You can follow myself at Roman REC Podcast, and you can follow the bomb dude.
Gulag_J_Wielden.
Whoo! I'm surrounded by bomb dudes today.
Yes, you are.
We have some guests. Friends of the show, the big tuna himself,
Yeah.
Jordan Tunney.
Hello, everybody.
And long lost son of the REC podcast, Mr. Casey Duke.
How's
I'm
everyone doing
swooning.
tonight?
Swooning over here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Eric's been super missing you. So this shouldn't be weird at all.
Yeah.
Should be good. So welcome. I set you guys on the same side for a reason.
Oh, boy.
Kids, we're going to start with a little bit of heavy news today. The world is realizing what most of us know in America, and let's just be frank, it's pretty racist. This isn't the type of topic that we like to discuss here, but I think that's part of the problem. And we were kind of talking before the show, and we want to express our condolences and our disgust and just our. We understand that we can be better as a society, and we just kind of wanted to talk about and say that we we don't understand, but we're with you. And I don't know, I've been feeling real weird for days. Obviously, I think we all have. To an extent, just seeing what happened to George Floyd and what just kind of systemically happens in this country to African American people. The term people of color keeps coming up, and whether or not you should use it, because it does seem to be pretty focused on the African American community. We don't want to put a positive spin on anything, but we're not a political podcast. This is just not our forte, but we love African American cinema and its effects on pop culture. And I think that, maybe if we just take a little bit of time to talk about African American influence on pop culture.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Eric, what do you have to say?
I do agree with everything you had to say, and I didn't realize the gravity of it until I went downtown to a protest.
Okay.
And didn't realize how insane this was getting, and the outrage.
Yeah. Tell us about what you were seeing, man. Because I've been in my bunker for the last week.
Oh man, it was pretty intense. Everybody's got their right to protest, and that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were down there just to do that and get their point across. And I thought it was beautiful, just the solidarity between everybody. But as soon as the sun went down, that's when everybody wanted to. That's when all the hey, let's mess stuff up people came out. And to be perfectly honest, like the cops were super cool.
Okay.
They didn't engage. They had rocks thrown at them. It just all sorts of awful things hurled at them verbally or.
Mm-hmm.
Just trash, and they kept their cool. They were trying to keep the peace, obviously, but again, it's just a bunch of bad apples in the crowd want to ruin it for everybody. But it was nice to see everybody out to be in support of one thing.
Sure.
And be really peaceful about it until the sun goes down.
Until the sun goes down. Yeah. Well, that brings out the loonies normally. Yeah. So
and I did get maced, not by the police.
And not by Puff Daddy?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I wish it was.
All right. No Mason Puffy.
Life goals.
But yeah, it was intense, man.
Yeah.
Very intense. So.
That's crazy. You wouldn't catch me down there protesting, and not that I don't empathize and sympathize, but man, I got kids. I can't have wild people around me, man. Like
you saw.
I did. You were streaming live, and I'll donate and I'll verbally support, and I'll do what I can. But I and I'll be honest, like I'm just afraid.
Right.
Like I'm afraid, and that's not my scene. But I don't want to be. Right. I'm not going to be quiet though.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
I wasn't necessarily down there protesting. I was just documenting it.
Sure.
Like I felt like something had to be, because I don't think there wasn't a lot of stuff on social media as far as Springs, as far as the protesting.
Sure.
The police down here were friends with Officer Bliss from the theater. They had I'm trying to think how to say it. They were very well aware of how crowds respond to the police officers, and they were confronting agitators beforehand, and that allowed the peaceful protesters to
big time.
Do what they're there to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that did come off really well because you could tell that they knew who to look for.
Yeah.
As far as like the effects, it's so weird to think about it, and being, this last week and a half of very intense coverage on these, let's just say atrocities.
Yeah.
It has really made me think about like what I enjoy about and how America is this melting pot, and the enrichment of not just African American culture, but Latino and Latinx and all of that stuff. Just how it influences the stuff that we imbibe all the time. And we can go back as far as Star Wars, and we all know the coolest guy in the universe is Lando Calrissian. And we know, and until it's revealed that Vader is a white guy underneath there, as so eloquently put in Chasing Amy. Darth Vader was the blackest brother in the universe, man, a Nubian guy. And whether it's Sidekick or Black Panther and Wakanda, and I mean we talked about that so much when that movie came out that it was an event, and it was so. Casey, you're at the theater too. I had never seen the grouping of so many people of different races, and then just like the camaraderie between like comic book nerds of every color. And let's be real, black people who hadn't been in the movies probably in years
and didn't care about superheroes. They were there to represent.
Exactly. I mean, people in like dashikis and just like the whole nine.
Yeah.
And and it's that cultural soup. It's what a movie like Black Panther is trying to do.
Oh, for sure.
Is equality and acceptance, and what we bring to the table, just like as a group, as like this culture and this community.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I agree. Now, one thing that I was reflecting about and thinking about as the conversation was taking place, is when we think about how culture and society, our culture produces entertainment, and our entertainment often speaks to our culture. It's a little bit of a two-way street. Yeah. And I think it's important, like when we think about and consider the stories that we tell. And there's been a big push for like representation in comics, in even in video games. There was just this headline about there's in the upcoming Square Enix Avengers game. There's a character, I think she's an Inhuman, that uses a wheelchair. Oh, okay. And they got a motion capture artist who herself uses a wheelchair, and that whole idea of like representation. I think that we're seeing, as a culture and as a society, there's been a big push for Black voices telling Black stories. Yeah, and I think that's it's important because for a lot of Hollywood history, a lot of films were Black stories, but not told in Black voices. Right. And so, I think kind of reflecting back on that idea that, Black Panther in particular, when you think about, here's this story that has a rich background in history that I have no frame of reference for Black Panther virtually at all. Until the movie came out, and even then I'm just getting like samples of what the comic actually did. Right. But it you can just tell they put so much effort into developing the culture of Wakanda, the political structure, the economics, and all that stuff. And we've talked before, we were talking a few episodes ago about my critiques of how vibranium was way too magical in the story. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, once again though, it is a matter of representation and stuff, and I think it only serves society better to have those stories being told. Sure.
I always like watching Black Panther for the first time. I had gotten so engaged with it that I completely forgot that it was a Black character representing an African nation. And that's like every superhero movie that I love. I just get lost in the story, I think that's every great movie's point, is that all those sort of things just fall away, and it's just a great story. Yes. And no matter, I mean, even if it's coming from a place of race, I mean, it's still just like, wow, that's really cool. I think Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did a great job. He wasn't over heavy-handed with the message.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I mean, I get that maybe Killmonger did give his awesome little speech there, and maybe it wasn't for us to understand or get,
Sure.
you know, but, you know, of course you got to throw moments in there like that.
Yeah.
To up the stakes, you know, that meant a lot to the character.
And I think it's important, too, that, like, when it comes to reflecting and thinking about entertainment and critiquing it, you know, it's kind of hard because you don't want to be in a place where, you know, you want a movie's success to stand on the movie's success and not be like, this was a good blank film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
You know, like a good movie is a good movie,
no
regardless of is it a good animated film or not, or is it, you know, like, so you know,
having to quantify it is an issue.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, better minds than ours are gonna debate this topic. And I think it's good that we have something to say, but it's more important right now that we just listen.
Sure.
You know, that we're listening to Black stories of what's actually happening.
Right.
And take that in and just remember that, you know, we're all part of this same, you know, the same quilt, the same fabric.
Sure.
And, you know, every strand, it has its own strength, and if one strand is abused, if one strand is weakened, the whole quilt, you know, it falls apart.
Right.
I'd like to move on to some lighter stuff. Sure. You know, that this podcast is about having fun, but we definitely need to acknowledge certain things going on.
Yeah, definitely.
But Casey Duke, man,
he's back.
Oh, he's back, baby. I haven't seen you in months, so
I saw him last night.
Oh, yeah, in your dreams. Yeah, in your dreams. Oh, yeah.
Tapping on the window.
That thing you're hearing in the closet, that's Eric. Yeah. If you leave out some amphetamines, he's good. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he'll entertain himself for hours. Okay.
Methed out Santa Claus.
I mean, you know, yeah, you got to leave him on the plate. You know, leave it near some green, and he'll enjoy it. We've been talking, you know, Jordan's been on the show a couple times. Yeah. Been talking about the pop culture we've been digesting in this time frame. Our friend Casey is the most frugal of people. Have you gotten any more streaming services? Had you embellished in anything entertainment wise? What have you been doing?
I have been guzzling TV shows.
Oh, nice.
Just I've been enjoying the time off, and I've caught up on Fargo. Been hanging in there with Rick and Morty. Just I've gone deep down the rabbit hole.
Okay, nice. What's been the show that's shocked you the most, been the best or most enjoyable?
I don't know if it shocked me, but I put off watching season 2 and 3 of Fargo because season 1 is so good. If you guys out there haven't seen it, it's Billy Bob Thornton's best acting. He basically plays the devil, and it's 10 episodes of just greatness.
Okay.
And I kind of avoided season 2 and 3 because they're anthology based, and it's just, you know, nothing's gonna beat this. Why even disappoint myself?
Right. Sure.
And I went through, and season 2 is better than season 1, and season 3 might be better than season 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
Especially with somebody like you who, I mean, and all of us really, who loved True Detective season 1, and then we're just constantly let down. And that's anthology.
Season 3 was great.
Yeah. I never saw it.
You didn't see it's really good.
Yeah.
Season 2 is a bummer though.
Sure. And season 2 is good. Like if you hadn't seen season 1, you can watch season 2 and enjoy it. It's fine.
Yeah,
like if it was a different show.
Yeah. But it's following season 1.
If the show was watch Vince Vaughn be fat, it's like great, let's do that.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Apparently he lost weight for that too much, really? Did you?
Uh-oh, Vince. Yeah,
the only part of that we could have lost was Taylor Kitsch. I did not like that character. Didn't need to be in there.
Taylor Kitsch, I've only liked him in one movie. Was he in Lone Survivor?
I believe he was.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. I really liked him in Lone Survivor.
I liked him as Gambit.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I was like,
get out,
dude. Yeah, get out. Get out now.
I'm gonna
stop the show.
I'm gonna throw one. It's so weird. Like we could do a whole episode on this guy. No, actually, in terms of movie performance, my wife and I we Redboxed it through our TV, like Redbox Online or whatever it's called, and we watched 21 Bridges, starring Chadwick Boseman. The Russo brothers produced it.
Right.
Cop movie.
Yeah.
And he plays him and another guy. They do this drug. They go to steal these drugs from this restaurant. It's like a front, and they're supposed to have like 30 kilos, and so they brought like 3 bags with them, and there's like 300. and they realize, and like the cops show up, but nobody called the cops, and so it becomes like a run all night kind of movie. And those are some of my favorite ones.
Oh, nice.
And Chadwick Boseman, his dad was a cop who was killed in the line of duty, and so he's kind of like the cleaner. Like when he gets on the case, like he solves the case, and there tends not to be like he's had a lot of righteous kills. And so he's going after these guys, and it turns out like they stole from corrupt cops who were working with drug dealers. So everybody's going out for them. They close all the bridges in New York to like keep them on the island. It's actually really well done. J.K. Simmons is in it. There's some good twists and everything. But yeah, I mean, he's got a small part, but like a meaningful part, and it's well done. Yeah.
Is it like when they closed off the Narrows in Batman Begins?
We never went back to that.
Yeah, it feels like the Narrows was like a really big part of Gotham, and then like it just wasn't.
Yeah, at the end he's like, we haven't got the Narrows back. He's like, we will. And then
the Narrows, they're lost.
we will build an Amazon distribution center over it.
We will gentrify the Narrows.
That's what happened. Just move the white people.
Yeah, that's just what we did.
You know what's weird about Batman Begins to Dark Knight Rises is like the archetype of fear is such a big part of Batman Begins, and they completely drop it for Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Because they just talk about like how important fear is and how powerful it makes you, and then they just drop it completely in the sequels.
It's kind of a bummer because I thought there was more story to tell there.
Right.
You know, I felt like he didn't face it 100% in that first movie, so I thought it was going to carry over more into the second movie with maybe dealing with fear of failure maybe with the Joker, but they just never go back to it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, Heath Ledger died, so it was kind of like they just weren't gonna do that again. Heath Ledger failed at life, so. I'm sorry. You guys can fast forward through that, I guess.
He was good. I liked him. Did you see him in anything else besides Knight's Tale and Dark Knight?
Yeah.
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You. Yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger's the man.
Yeah,
I mean, he's no Taylor Kitsch, but
No,
Who is?
He is, man. And he was in this movie called Candy. Did anybody see Candy?
Heath Ledger? No.
Yeah, he plays a heroin junkie.
Oh, okay.
And it's just about him and his girl getting through that.
Oh, nice.
It's really uplifting.
Yeah,
movie.
sounds like it.
Brokeback.
Oh, yeah, Brokeback, yeah.
Brokeback.
Yeah, Brokeback was also uplifting.
Yeah.
With Mysterio.
Those two only had each other, okay? I'm sorry. We got way off track. Did you watch The Mandalorian, Casey?
Yes.
I did not. I haven't watched anything.
Dude, you haven't seen The Mandalorian?
I haven't seen. I've watched some movies, but it's all like kid movies. Like I've had no desire to watch TV this whole time. Seriously, like I don't care.
Oh man, that's disappointing. Mandalorian's great. It's a great Western, and outside of maybe Rogue One, it's the best Star Wars thing to come out in at least the last decade.
Nice.
Really?
It's a fantastic story, which the Star Wars universe, like about 1/3 of the Star Wars universe is good story.
Yeah.
And it's a part of the 1/3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We are the 1/3.
We are the 33%.
This is a bit of a spoiler, but it's so out there that I can't imagine this is going to be new to anyone.
I'm sure everybody on the show has watched it except me, and at this point, it's my own fault. Go for it.
The Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
They make him super OP, super fast.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with Jedi being able to throw planets into other planets, but like you gotta build us there.
Sure.
So having this thing be an infant and having it just do everything that it can do, I don't know. I shouldn't say that the Force pulled me out of it, but it kind of did.
Now, again, I haven't seen it, but the Yoda's people, they age very slowly. So while he's an infant, I mean, he probably still has 50 or 60
he's like
years.
50. He's 50 years
So,
old. Yeah.
I mean, Luke learned how to be like the best Jedi in like
Weekend.
Yeah.
and maybe cognitively he's there, but he just kind of has like baby emotions. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's cute as hell. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're gonna. I'm gonna steal some valor, and we're probably gonna be that for Halloween, and I will not have watched it. I'll be the Mandalorian. My 1-year-old will be Baby Yoda.
There is
and so on in that fashion.
I can't remember the woman, but there's a female character in there who's like was she a stormtrooper?
She was a former shock trooper
That's
with the
right.
Rebels. She, what's her name? Carino?
Yeah, Gina Carano.
Gina Carano, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I bought the action figure. I can't remember the name either, but it's a cool figure. It's a cool figure.
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't watched anything. This is the catching up with Casey Duke hour. I haven't seen it. It's been weird. I watched Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure with my daughter. 3 seasons. it was straight up like Buffy, and it was awesome.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like Buffy with like more superpowers.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like really weird. Like we literally dedicated like 20 minutes. We talked about it on a previous episode. But
I burned through The Americans. Anybody watch that on the table?
I've seen like the first like 3 episodes, but that's a show that like I see like on Prime or something, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna probably give this a go.
You'd love it.
Like, man, I really need to watch
You
that.
in particular would love it.
Yeah,
Man.
I just started going through, and I haven't finished the first episode, but I just started going through Doom Patrol. Because it's on HBO Max, and because I don't have the DC universe, but it's on HBO Max. So I just started that, and it's something else. It's definitely it's got a tongue in cheek narration, like something happens, and the narrator is like. They're like, oh god, the critics are just going to destroy the show. Like says that like in the middle of the episode. Like there's a lot of meta. There's some fourth wall stuff.
Yeah.
I have no frame of reference for like any of the characters. Like they're all the DC stuff. I think Cyborg ends up in the show. He's not in the first episode from what I've seen so far. But I'm just kind of like, you know what, like this show is different than like any other superhero show that I've ever seen. So I'm like, maybe I will kind of stick this out a little bit, because it almost feels like it's trying to be a DC TV version of Deadpool, but what I will say though is that it's not heavy-handed. It's like the humor, but it's not. They're not taking the jokes.
Sure.
It's like somebody that was like laughing at Deadpool jokes.
Deadpool.
But like, it feels So it's got that kind of tone to it in a way.
I haven't. They just kind of like lost me on all the DC stuff. And a friend of the show, Andy, he was saying that Doom Patrol was probably the best DC show that he was watching.
Wow.
He said Teen Titans was really good. And that was also on the DC app. But man, Warner Brothers can't figure out anything. They just have all of these struggle,
all threads.
Dude. Oh, it's so crazy. Right before the world consumed itself with coronavirus, they got rid of Dan DiDio, the co-publisher of DC Comics. I don't know if you were paying attention to that.
No.
Yeah, so it's like just Jim Lee. And then, like, a week later, Corona hit. Like, it's been this crazy stuff. They quit delivering comics, and, the entire comic book industry was, like, boned for 6 weeks.
Wow.
It's just been... pop culture in itself has just been nuts. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they released a new trailer for Tenet a few weeks ago that I didn't see.
Yeah.
But not seeing any trailers, just everything being rumor, because everybody is, like... on Zoom conferences, and if it feels like I'm explaining how pop culture works to Casey Duke, it's like I'm usually his outlet, and I haven't seen him, so I assume he's just been in a bunker and doesn't know what's happened in the world.
Oh yeah, no, radio silent.
Yeah. And it's just been absolutely insane. Everything's starting to kick back up again. Like the comic book stores opened up a couple weeks ago. Comics started shipping 2 weeks ago. So it's been pretty nuts, and it's been interesting because, like I said, everything's just been a rumor.
Well, and to speak to like with the mention of like Tenet, like the new trailer like does have like some reveals, and like it gives a little bit of a little bit more explanation for what might be happening. I got like 15 minutes into this theory video. I might have sent it to you about like the theory behind like what's going on about this. There's this like philosophical thing with these 2 boxes and time before. But anyway, the movie's slated to open in July.
Yeah.
When the new preview came out, like I think last week or so, a week and a half ago or so, it ends with coming to theaters.
Yeah.
And that's
it.
And so and everyone's been saying they think that what they're doing is they're trying to hold out hope, because Nolan will they'll push this movie back for it to be in theaters.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want it on video on demand.
No.
But it, once again, it could be the shot in the arm that a lot of people need. But I was reading Deadline Hollywood had this article about like the 80% principle, that New York, LA, San Francisco theaters need to be open, and about 80% of the theaters nationwide need to be open for any major studio to release a major movie, because that 80% is like what will really make or break box office.
Right.
And so this whole idea that like everyone is kind of holding in limbo, it's like, well, California was not, nearly, hit in certain ways as New York was with the Rona. But if California opens but New York doesn't, what will a studio do?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the studios don't want to be in a place where they're like, watch this movie in select markets, essentially.
Yeah.
Because limited release movies never do well. They do marginally well to expand to full release.
Right.
And it's not going to be a sustainable, economic decision for them.
That being said, wherever it does open, I think it's going to be huge. I think people are so sick.
Yeah,
of
they're going to
being
go out and
inside.
they're going to watch. Yeah.
You could put anything up on that screen, and I think we're going to fill.
That's why I thought they should do New Mutants. They should just release that right now.
Well, right now, I mean, New Mutants on the slate for August. Like, they're saying August, they're going to do it. Same thing with Tenet, that they're shooting for that July 7th or July 17th, release. But, like, the summer's really hanging on that. Like, if Tenet moves, theaters don't open, mass until maybe August.
Yeah.
The rumor mill is that, theaters are opening, so, like, Texas is open. And Texas is open, and select theater chains have opened theaters down there, and they're not doing well.
Really?
They're not doing
well. They don't
well.
have any movies.
Well, yeah, but again, they're running with library. But like at the same point, everybody's been watching library.
Right.
Everybody's been,
that's something new.
I would go to watch a re-release of Avengers Endgame, but that's one movie I have watched multiple times in the lockdown, in the quarantine was Avengers Endgame. So I think you're going to have a hard time getting people back out there for Harry Potter and for, Avengers stuff because there've been countless articles written about, I watched all 22, MCU films. Oh, I did this, I did that. So, I mean, you're going to have to bring back Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park. You're going to have to do stuff like that. You're going to have to charge $5.
And you're not wrong, but I think the lure is, hey, we're not the inside of your house. And I could be wrong, but in certain markets, I think it'll do well.
I think that you're absolutely right. But what does the current climate, dictate? Do people want to go watch movies right now? Do they? I don't know, man. I hope.
It's got to be the movie. The movie is what's going to bring them out.
In my opinion, like, especially seeing how a lot of the protests have moved in the country in the last week, there's part of me that feels like this is done. Like, there are hundreds of thousands of people out marching across the country. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you close the door on that? And the reason they're doing that is because they feel that passionately about it. So if people feel that passionately about whatever, it's gonna happen. But you're right though. It's you're both right that the movies are gonna end up being the draw because what's gonna happen is people are gonna say, yeah, if you're releasing stuff that I've been able to watch on Netflix for the last 6 to 7 weeks, But then again, I think too when we worked at the theater in the summer and they do the kid shows, the Clubhouse, and it's like $2 or $3 a ticket, and it's like, guess what? You can watch this movie. You probably own it on DVD, but you can load up the 3 kids, go to the theater, and be out of the house for 90, 80 minutes. That's true. Like, that is a good draw. And I remember we did business on those days. Oh, yeah. And so maybe it's not just one answer. Yeah. Maybe it is kind of those multiple things.
And then what are the capacities going to be? What are you going to be able to put in a theater? I know some of the Texas ones were 20% capacity.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's not financially viable, why even open? Yeah.
Exactly. So, and how that really pertains to, us and the show is, I'm going to keep talking about. You're going to keep making me talk about the Snyder Cut. I don't want to talk about the Snyder Cut anymore.
We got a trilogy before Snyder did.
Oh yes.
Since I haven't been around, my take on the Snyder Cut is this: make a good movie, and then I will care about you making a better movie.
Thank you. Yes, we've been doing nothing but optimistically trashing it for several episodes now.
The Snide man.
Dark Snide. Did you see the Dark Side image?
No, I've not.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll pull it up for you. Go ahead and take it away there, Eric.
The Dark Snide.
Okay. I heard you guys on the episode about that, and I just had to say. So my limited understanding, is that Darkseid is the nephew of Steppenwolf, right?
I think he's the uncle.
No, I thought it was like reversed. That like Darkseid's the nephew and his uncle is Steppenwolf.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
But here's the thing, and I get the hate with some of the early design. Number one, if they're dropping, it sounds like it'll be more than $30 million to redo this.
Yeah.
This could be like a pre-rendering. It could be. there could be a whole bunch of stuff that this is that's not
Right.
the final product. But the other thing too is, one of you mentioned how he looks a lot like Steppenwolf, and it's like, well, if they're from the same planet and they're related,
Sure.
then it kind of, you know what I mean? Then it seems like they would kind of
have some similarity,
Yeah.
but I feel like it was just copy and paste.
No,
It was like, what do they do in video games? You can buy skins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's what it
exactly.
was. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there he is.
So this was the teaser that they did. Now, I'm pretty sure that Darkseid, that Steppenwolf was actually in this image in the movie.
This looked like it was from the beginning when they're talking about the history of the
Yeah,
Amazons,
that's
and the
right.
Green Lantern gets killed, and
So this was the image. So again, nothing up close with the face, but like that's your tease. Okay.
He's doing his the graduate pose right there.
Well, yeah, this Steppenwolf's like Axe, like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Steppenwolf was such a weak sauce villain
Big time.
and such a weak sauce movie.
yeah, it's like and we talked about this, but it's stop giving me a remix.
Yeah,
Like I don't need a remix of this because the original's not very good.
Right.
yeah.
This isn't Will.i.am putting it on the ones and twos, okay?
Just do Flashpoint, reset the entire universe.
Yes.
And
They already kind of set it up for that too, right?
straight up.
In Batman v Superman, he's busting through
honestly,
the,
like, if anything, if there's any plot point that I do want to see, is I want to see in Snyder's Justice League, I want to see some explanation of the nightmare with a K from Batman vs Superman, and we probably won't see like the treadmill and him going back or whatever. But I want to see like some, because that was not at all addressed in Batman vs Superman. It was not at all addressed in Justice League. But like, it'd be like if I were Bruce and I were to meet Barry Allen, I'd be like, "Hey, Barry Allen,
I've been dreaming about you.
I tracked you down. Yeah, what the hell? Like you had this like weird, like really like pencil thin beard, and you were like reaching out to me, and you were speaking very like cryptically, like you didn't need to be that cryptic, like but honestly, like in Batman vs Superman, besides the fight of Batman and Superman against each other, the nightmare scene's my absolute favorite. I'll go back on YouTube and watch that scene.
It's cool.
It's a great scene.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I could reset everything, make things okay for them.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Zack Snyder makes beautiful movies. Like, he does action scenes better than almost
amazing.
anyone.
He's the best scene person in the biz.
No one should ever let him write a script, apparently.
Apparently.
Well, and what he's saying is that that his cut was 4 hours. Apparently, he's never watched this Joss one.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
he's never watched it. But like from what his friends tell him, it sounds like nothing that he did. So it sounds like Joss actually ended up redoing a lot, but that he didn't have the resources to redo everything that he did, and did it anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they were like, "Hey, do this," and he was like, "I can't do this, but
do it anyway."
Yeah, do this with less money."
They think he's like an alchemist or something.
If there's an hour and a half of footage and story that we haven't seen, I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pay for it.
Well, and that reference to like in the Comic-Con release preview, and then in the first trailer, they had the shots. I think Barry's with Iris, and like he like pushes his finger through the window. Yeah. So there was like rendered footage that ended up not making it in.
A lot.
And there's the speculation that the general Sweatnik, I think was his name. I'm not kidding you. Like, look it up. He was the General Man of Steel.
Yeah, no, I believe it. It's just weird.
Yeah, he has been like teasing on Instagram or Twitter or whatever on social media. He's been teasing, like he put like a concept drawing of Martian Manhunter, and there was a lot of speculation that he was Martian Manhunter, and that reveal was going to like
totally.
And so like I think somebody wrote him on social media like something about it, and he like responded with like a winking emoji. I mean, who knows? But like he's clearly aware of like that theory, and and like then I think, I don't know if it was Zach or if somebody released like some of the previous sketches of like what Green Lantern would look like, and so like there's also like there could be whole storylines that aren't in there, and I do think it's true. Like Justice League in many ways was mediocre, but it's hard for me to say that Snyder's Justice League will be mediocre, because we
haven't
like
seen it.
it sounds like even he like
Yeah.
is not entirely sure like how
that
long this is
wasn't
gonna,
my movie.
you know,
Yeah.
Even he doesn't know what he filmed.
yeah. So yeah. He's like, okay, when can I open my eyes? When can we cut? But no. So I don't know. I mean, you're right. It is all spec. We're gonna have another year of talking about this. I'm guessing they'll release a teaser, like a trailer with some of the new footage when all that stuff gets done. But yeah. Until then, it's just everybody is like putting what they want it to be into this, and unfortunately, that can set you up for
listening, and they're going to use that seed money, the extra seed money, to reshoot because we got Cavill back.
Yeah.
And he can bring him in to reshoot a lot of stuff, you know.
Yeah, Case, after it was announced that he was going to that HBO Max was going to do the Snyder cut, this guy came out on Twitter and I don't know if he's like a wrestler or he's a stuntman, but he's like, okay, now that this is out and I've been given the okay, he's like, I shot many scenes as Darkseid. Really? He's like, I'm the motion capture body.
Porter, and this is from back in the original movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, you know, now that I've been given the okay, he's like, I've shot tons of scenes as Darkseid.
That's interesting. It makes you think of Jared Leto's Joker and Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a movie to make a Joker movie what I did alone.
Yeah, Ayer is saying, we haven't seen my Suicide Squad either. So now
this opens a lot of doors.
Yeah,
and
I don't like where it goes.
Yeah. His argument, and I think he makes some good points. His argument was the reason why the reason why Warner Brothers chopped up Suicide Squad was because they saw how Deadpool did. And they didn't want a dark tone. They wanted levity and lightness, because I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was having a back and forth on Twitter, and somebody said that the first trailer, the Bee Gees song, what was it? In Suicide Squad, I started a joke. That's right. Yeah, that trailer, like, that had, like, they showed at Comic-Con.
It was a very different trailer.
Yeah, someone on Twitter had said, like, this is the best product of Suicide Squad that's ever been released. And David Ayer, like, expounded on it. Like, he was like, thank you, and he pretty much said, my Suicide Squad was dramatic, dark, sad.
Right.
The studio took it. They said, we want humor, lightness, levity. And honestly, when you go back and watch Suicide Squad, the weakest stuff is the Enchantress stuff, and it's kind of the overwrought silliness.
Yeah, right.
You know?
The forced humor with Harley. Apparently, they shot a lot more with her. They went back and reshot a bunch of Harley scenes. And those are the worst parts.
Yeah.
Well, then it did make the ultimate sin where their main villain was a floating cloud of garbage.
Yes.
And DC's made that problem twice.
Yes.
Parallax and Green Lantern.
Yeah. They're like, you know what, guys? Let's just make it some type of garbage cloud.
You know, at once upon a time, someone tried a thing and it didn't work out. I don't blame anyone.
Yeah, sure.
But then they keep doing it.
Yeah. Galactus. Well, Fox is guilty of it, you know. But yeah, when your bad guy is spinning garbage, that's what your movie is.
Then Enchantress did that weird.
Yes, she did.
I'm Shakira.
Yeah, these hips, they do lie, because this movie was supposed
she didn't have hips either.
Yeah. Well, you know,
she was a lie.
But then arguably one of the cooler, like, downplayed scenes in Suicide Squad is when the Enchantress does her first, like, turn with the hand that goes over.
Yes. That's really cool.
And that's what's so disappointing is, like, when you see movies that have, like, cool scenes and cool premises, and they just can't make it come together.
Right. Or they did in the studio.
Yeah.
No, that's
overreach.
too much.
Yeah.
I forget, they had a secondary company do the trailer, and it's all neon lights and ridiculousness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, make it for 11-year-olds, I guess.
Yeah, because like you're saying, you watch the first trailer compared to the second one, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
It's like some old Hollywood guy, like, running Warner Brothers. He's like, always keep them guessing, you know? He's like, put people in there that aren't even going to be in there.
They don't know what they want. I tell you. He's giving it to them.
Some vaudeville guy, just like really just like out of his mind, and has...
I mentioned WB being all coked out 20-year-olds, but I like the vaudeville aspect.
It's coked out guy who did summer stock in his 20s.
Yeah.
In the 20s.
Coked out vaudeville guy. What else do we need to catch Casey up on in the world of pop culture? I feel like those have been the major things, because it has been quite.
It's been slow. It's been really slow. Yeah. It's been some dour times.
I know. I've been making up news, really. Like, you know, there's nobody fact checking the show.
I didn't know COVID was fake.
Yeah. Who knew? Well, Casey, welcome back to the real world. We appreciate you coming on the show today. And kids, that's our show for today. Yeah. That is. Sorry to start out so heavy, but we appreciate you listening. And if you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a like, leave a comment, tell your friends. Please tell your friends. Eric's starting to sniff around and ask me about money, and it's like, guys, there's no money. Just leave it alone.
We just lay some amphetamines on the ground.
Yeah.
Looking for amphetamine
But that trick only works so many times.
I know. Yeah, and amphetamines are pretty expensive. At least where I'm getting them from Casey. Eric, do you have any final thoughts for us today?
Just glad to have you back.
Oh,
Yeah.
glad good to be back, guys.
Yeah,
glad the boys
good
are
to
here.
see you guys.
We're just missing Dave.
Yeah, Dave's got big guy stuff to do, you know. So, but I'm sure he'll be on
Dave
sooner
is
than later.
dark side.
Dave is dark side. There you go. Big Tuna, do you have any final thoughts for us today?
Honestly, I think when it comes to like reflecting on, kind of looping back to the beginning of the episode, we talked about reflecting on, hearing different stories, hearing people tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, one thing I really want to do is I want to seek out more like biographies.
Okay.
Like whether books or like films about, true stories. Like there's a lot in there. There's a lot about history that I know, but I don't know a lot about people.
Right.
Like,
Sure.
And so my challenge to you, the listener, is find somebody that you are interested in, and like, if there's a movie about them or a book about them, like start learning more about the people behind the events, it could be a pop culture person, it could be a famous person in history or something. But like that's something like I want to do is I want to like learn more about the lives of some of these people.
Yeah,
I strongly recommend the autobiography of Malcolm X. By the way, very inspirational book, great read.
Heck yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I like the autobiography of Lucas Bishop, time traveling mutant, who is maybe going to save us. I'm not sure. His story gets a little twisted. Casey, do you have any final thoughts for the listeners today?
Yeah, support the protesters. Stop the rioting.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And don't bring pepper spray. It hurts.
Do what you can. At least do something. Black Lives Matter, and I think we need to realize that and stop repeating it and start doing it. Thank you guys for listening. I have been your host, Roman Chavez.
I'm still Eric Icarus.
Big Tuna, Casey Papas. It has been good to see you, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.